Phil Schrader. I'm the CEO and CFO of GumGum. Thank you for having me. Hopefully everybody's having a good afternoon. For those of you who are not familiar with GumGum, GumGum is the inventor of in-image advertising. We are a patented image recognition technology and computer vision company that extracts images for and on behalf of our marketers and our publishers. We reach over 400 million users as they look and view images and content across more than 2,000 of our premium publisher sites. That produces our ads to turn out viewability rates exceeding over 80%, seeing 10 times the performance on engagement. In turn, provides value to and ROI to our advertisers with significant increases in brand lift, purchase intent, engagement, and it has helped us unlock incremental, significant revenue opportunities for the publishers. That said, we thought it would be fun to do a little visual IQ quiz. So we have a couple questions to break the ice a little bit here. So the first question is, what's the average percentage that images and visual content take up on editorial sites? The answer is 32%. Even when you look at sites like the New York Times, 21% of their homepage is consumed with images now. And then you can go to sites like Quartz that have over 60%. So it's truly emerging as a space of content that users are wanting to engage with. The next question, content with relevant images gets what percentage more views than content without images? This is a whopping, if I can get it to go, 94%. So HubSpot did a study, and with relevant images on content, 94% more views. It also translated in 65% increase in click-through rates. And then, obviously, the first in-image advertising campaign ran in 2009. Proud to say GumGum produced that campaign, and you might be interested to know it was to promote the movie Bruno with Sacha Baron Cohen. And that was really the start and what kicked off where we are today. Now, we love being on stage, and it's great to give you these little facts, and hopefully you learned a little something and talk a little bit about GumGum. We love being able to present our value proposition, sit down, have conversations on how we can help you unlock our value of in-image advertising and understand your strategic needs for your own audience. But that being said, we thought it would be really valuable to bring on one of your peers and really get their perspective on how the visual web is impacting them and how they're taking advantage of it. So I'd like to welcome David Park from Bauer Excel Media to join me on stage. Please give him a round of applause. Thanks, David. Nice to have you. So those of you not familiar with Bauer, Bauer has around 150 million monthly unique users. They are one of the fastest growing digital media companies with premium properties like InTouch, Life and Style, Women's World, and has a very strong social presence as well, with J14 being one of the largest brands with Facebook at around 5 million.
Correct.
So thanks for coming on stage with me, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So let's dive right in. So I'd love to get your take on how has Bauer really capitalized on the emergence of the visual web?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. I think one aspect of the platform play where we obviously use platforms such as Snapchat, Instagram, Pinterest to put up our own content on these platforms. On the other side, we also look to these platforms for our own content, and going back to Instagram, we may embed a lot of Instagram content on our sites. We have editors that basically track all these different platforms constantly for new material. On the other side, going back to kind of the original platform, which is a publisher's own site, we closely look at the data. We look at the analytics constantly, and one thing we noticed was, as far as engagement goes, time on site, page views per visit, all that kind of good stuff, we noticed that the image-heavy posts that we put up perform generally a lot better than our posts without so many images. Our photo galleries perform extremely well, and based off that data, we basically have decided to redesign our sites. I know pretty much every publisher is constantly going through a redesign, but the one that we're currently working on now has a huge emphasis on really highlighting not just our photo galleries, but just images in general. We've just found that our readers. And again, this makes sense going back to the publications we have, such as In Touch, Life and Style. They're very, they're celebrity sites. Kim Kardashian, the readers want to know kind of like what she's wearing. So it makes a lot of sense, obviously, if you look at it that way.
So how have you taken that, knowing that that shift has changed, and how have you taken advantage of in-image advertising as that shift in momentum has changed for you?
Yeah, so when you look at all the different ad products out there, and there's obviously a ton of them, for publications such as ours, where images play such a huge role, it's such a natural fit to basically be where your readers are. I think, you hear viewability constantly. That's one of the big buzzwords, obviously, and it goes to say without saying that if your readers are focused on images and you're looking for ads that are viewable, makes sense that you'd have ads alongside those images or literally on those images. I think, one thing to be careful of, obviously, is that user experience and being able to balance that and make sure that you're not turning away your readers with, intrusive ads and whatnot. But if you can test and look at the data and make sure that it's a good experience for users, then it's a great format.
So let's take that to the next level. So you mentioned managing the user. One of the obvious concerns is, you have a placement of an in-image ad kind of really right aligned with that image content. There are multiple different ways in which you can leverage an image. Some partners are 100% ad solution, fill rates, all of that. How do you guys approach that so that you can monetize it effectively? How do you manage that? And then what has been the response with how you've made it work from your users?
Yeah, so I'll answer the last question first. So I think that was a big hesitation that we had internally when we first started just even testing out with GumGum, in particular an image as a solution is, product team, editorial team is basically like, this is going to be an intrusive unit. But, we tested things out and we didn't see any difference in terms of, engagement rates going down. We didn't receive complaints from our users. And our users are very vocal, believe it or not, with what I would call intrusive ads. Literally, if you go to our Facebook fan pages, they will really go to town and gang up and start liking, like thumbs upping on bad ad experiences. And with an image, we haven't seen that. And so I think that's, again, something that's very important to every publisher. Every publisher is different, right? So you have to make that decision. But I think the biggest thing is testing and seeing what the data actually shows. And so for us, when we had that conversation internally and we looked at the data, we went back to, our product and editorial teams and basically said, you had these conceptions, but here's the data that proves that, there wasn't an effect, a negative effect. And then going back to your question about, fill and kind of that experience of, look, at the end of the day, if you wanted to, every single image on your site, you could plaster an ad over that. I think there's a point where, even without the data to go beyond that, it's just there's an overkill level. And I think that when you're looking at the different in-image ads, you have to definitely weigh, are we trying to literally squeeze every single penny possible and have an ad on every single unit? Or are we trying to have a good balance where we have high quality ads, we have it not on every single image? But again, that's for every publisher to decide. Everyone has different goals, has different things they're trying to achieve. But for us, one of the things that we want is we want a good balance. At the same time, we want to obviously monetize in-image units, but we didn't want to go overkill and make a couple extra pennies off some ad that's off like the 15th image on a page, or that's exaggerating, but get the idea.
So with that, we, from our perspective, we do hear that there will be challenges or misconceptions maybe around the challenge of implementation or the impact it may have on the site. What has your experience been with respect to those two issues?
Yeah, so another metric we obviously measure is site load. We didn't see any significant impact off site load. The implementation, as a publisher, everyone always hears this, the one line of JavaScript, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. But I'm obviously not a developer. I'm on the BD side, but basically I threw the tag into GTM, Google Tag Manager, and literally that day we had ads appearing. Probably as simple as can be from that implementation standpoint. You could obviously also choose to run it through DFP if you want to, I guess have a different level of maybe control. But for us, we run it through GTM, and it's been great.
Now, you've been in the industry a long time, so just continuing that dialogue, have you seen or heard from your peers any other kind of misconceptions around in-image advertising, or any other kind of challenges you're like, this is what the market might think, but your experience has been different?
I mean, I think the biggest one that I touched upon earlier for a bit, I definitely think it's the intrusive factor. And then, you can make the argument that any type of ad is technically intrusive. I don't care if you say it's native or what have you, or traditional display. But with that said, when you compare all these different high impact units out there, and then again, going back to our testing and what we've seen with these different units, the image is, we don't get complaints about that one. I'll leave that at that versus, even things like pre-roll, which is kind of a necessary thing that you need in order to monetize video. People complain about that pretty regularly.
Right. Interesting. So obviously for us, the image recognition and our ability to understand what's in a photo programmatically through our patented tech is important.
Yep.
And because of that, when we're working with our brands, we're able to kind of deliver that seamless kind of execution from the brand's goal digitally and messaging to those photos. So we sometimes get the perception that it's a little native. Do you look at an image as kind of native, or do you think it's its own kind of unique category?
I think, yeah, it's an interesting question, because I think it's a bit of both. There's definitely native elements to it, and it definitely can be native. At the same time, I also do view it as a different unit. I think that's how most people kind of view it. Obviously related to display, but at the same time, when done well with the right partner in terms of the ability to target and display the right ad and high quality branded ads. Going back to the Kim Kardashian example, in the instances where we have, let's say, a handbag ad appear next to her image with a handbag, that's like great native execution. So I'd put an image as somewhere in between native and
its own unique.
Yeah, its own type of thing.
So as we wrap up, what would be some key advice, or what would you recommend a publisher if they're looking to explore this opportunity? What are some things you'd recommend that they ask their potential in-image partner, or how they could potentially do it right, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is definitely, again, as a publisher, everyone has their kind of own unique requirements, but I think the biggest thing for us, which we try to do a lot of, is actually test with partners. See how it actually performs, see what it delivers in actual revenue, what type of ads you get. I think in terms of looking at different in-image providers, I think seeing what their technology actually is, the type of ads that they're delivering, even other things like the dashboard, how good is the reporting? Is there a discrepancy between what you believe you're giving them versus what they're delivering? Just a lot of things to look at, obviously, but I think the biggest thing is, obviously doing your research, but really testing them out, and then from there you can not just kind of go off your gut, but basically be able to talk to all the internal teams and say, these are actual results.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I would like to thank David for his time to chat with us. Hopefully you guys got some insight from kind of a peer of yours and kind of someone that's been doing an image for a while. Myself and the GumGum team and David will be around after. Should you guys have any questions, please track us down. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much.